This is Supreet, and today we're going to see how to create minimal APIs from .NET 6. Right. So now, for the interest of time, I have already solution kept ready. Now we're gonna see how did I incorporate all these features of .NET 6 and created minimal APIs. Yeah. So for now, I have created a table called job category, and I have two fields: job category ID and description, with this as a primary key, uh, job category ID, right? Now, coming to Visual Studio, the first thing that you need to do is install the dependencies. So for me, the dependencies are ND Framework Core .SQL Server, ND Framework Core .tools. So these are the two explicitly added dependencies. So once you add these dependencies, you will have to define connection strings. So the configuration for this connection string had to be added in app.settings.json. All right. So after that, you need to map these tables to a model class. Uh, so what I did was to use package manager console and hit the following command. So you have scaffold db context command. You just have to provide the connection string over here, and then the output directory. So my output directory was models over here, and then um, I had to define this and then fire this command. So once this command is fired, it says build succeeded. And if you see over here, you will have all the tables mapped to your Poker classes, model classes, and then the DB context class is also created. So you don't have to do this manually. Yep. Now, after this, you will have to um, create repository, since I'm creating a repository pattern. Now let's see how do we do that. So I have created an interface, and then I have a method called get job categories. Um, so for now I have added one single method for the interest of time, and then and the second part probably I will add more methods for post and delete or whatever. So I'm returning task of enumerable of job categories. Now I have an implementing class which implements a repository, an interface, and I have injected the context class. So from the context class, I have defined the dbset property called job categories. So I'm just using that context, and then dbset property dot toolist async. So this will give you the list of job categories. Now, how do we inject this repository and then create controller methods and all? So now in minimal APIs, you don't have to worry about creating a specific controller. All that you can do is do it in program.cs. And the very important thing to mention here is you don't have to worry about startup classes. The configuration that you do in startup classes can be done in your program.cs itself. So now the first thing that I did was to register few services. Here I have to register DB context. Now in my case it is recruitment context, and I had to say use SQL Server, and then I had to get the configuration from the app settings. So I have to use configuration. So builder.configuration.connection string, and then define that connection string over here. And now since I have a repository pattern, I have an interface and then an implementing class. So this dependency has to be registered. So I have add scoped services.add scoped, and then I am registering this dependency over here. Now, the very important thing. So if you see here, we have a method called appget, mapget, app.mapget. So this will act as a controller method, get method, wherein here you will define your routing uh, kind of attribute based routes, and then this is kind of fat arrow function with delegate. Over here you will define it as a async method, and then you will inject your dependencies. So I'm explicitly injecting my dependency I repository. um, so once you inject this dependencies, now in this delegate you will return whatever result you want to return. So here in this case I'm going to say I'm just calling this repo method. So in this repo, I have a method called job categories. So I'm just saying await, since I have async method over here, await, and then repo dot job categories. This will do the job for me. Yeah. So this is how simple it is. You just have to run the solution to see if you are able to retrieve the results back. There you go. You hit the Swagger URL and you have get method over here. Let's try this out. I would say try that and then say execute. So it tries to fetch the details from the database through your repository pattern, through your DB context, finally, rendering results. Now look at this. So all these are the results which are obtained from your SQL Server over here. So this is how it is, and how easy it is to write your minimal APIs. So likewise, you can also you know uh, go with app.map post for your uh, other operations like post, delete, and all. Yeah, let me also try that. So let me define a method task of what do I return? I would return job categories, and then job category. Sorry, I would define a method like post job category, and then I would define this method, and then in my implementing class I would put the logic over here. Let me define this as an async task, and then I would say where results is equal to await, then I would say context dot job categories dot add async, and then I would provide that parameter over here, job category. That is it. And then I will have to return these results, return results. And now, oops, I will have to say context dot save changes so that the changes are in your DB. All right, so now that we have completed the repository part, wherein I'm just posting the job categories. Now let's see how do we call that function in your map post method. So I'm going to define my roots. I'm going to say again job category. And then I'm gonna say async. I'm gonna inject my repository, and then I'm gonna pass the job category. And then this is my delegate. So I'm gonna return category. All right, let me call this method, say await, and then repo dot post job categories, and then I would say category, and then return category. So now we have the Swagger UI over here. I'm gonna create a new entity, and then that should hit post method. So let's say Vue.js, and then I would say execute. Let me see if the new entity is created over here. It's created. So the map functionality is also working over here. This is your map method, map uh, post method, right? So you're gonna inject a repository and parameter job category. You're going to pass this job category parameter to your repo method called job post job category, and then return the same. Yep. So this is it about minimal APIs. So likewise, you can go with map delete as well, map put as well. Yeah. Thank you so much. If there are any more ideas, so comment back in the comment section. Thank you.